Hello there, I'm Nicholas, and this is On Listening with Chi Rising Studio. Thank you for joining me today. When we think about listening, we often focus on listening to others. But today we're turning that attention inwards to understand how listening to ourselves forms the foundation of meaningful boundaries. Imagine for a moment that your energy and attention are like a garden. Without proper fencing, this garden becomes vulnerable to all sorts of interference. People may walk through without awareness, animals might graze uninvited, and gradually the carefully tended plants begin to suffer. Boundaries are like that essential fencing. They don't exist to shut out the world, but rather to create a protected space where growth can flourish. Understanding boundaries begins with recognizing that they arise from deep listening to our own needs. When we feel drained, overwhelmed, or resentful, these emotions often signal that we need stronger boundaries. These feelings aren't random, they're valuable messages from our inner wisdom about what we need to thrive. Consider how often you might find yourself saying yes when your entire being wants to say no. In these moments, there's usually a subtle internal voice being overridden, a voice that knows what we truly need but gets drowned out by external pressures or internal obligations. Learning to hear and honor this voice is the first step in developing healthy boundaries. The relationship between boundaries and self-respect runs deep. When we constantly override our own needs to accommodate others, we send ourselves a powerful message that our own well-being is less important than others' comfort or approval. Each time we ignore our internal signals, we weaken our connection to our own wisdom and diminish our sense of self-worth. But what does it really mean to set boundaries from a place of self-respect? It means recognizing that our needs, feelings, and limits are valid and worthy of honor. It means understanding that saying no to what doesn't serve us creates space to say yes to what truly matters. This isn't about building walls, it's about creating clear, healthy containers for our energy and attention. What does this look like in practice? Imagine you're someone who deeply values quiet time in the morning to center yourself before the beginning of your day. Without clear boundaries, you might find yourself responding to early morning messages, taking calls, or handling others' needs before you've had a chance to ground yourself. Setting a boundary here might mean establishing a morning ritual that's protected from external demands, not from a place of rigidity, but from a deep respect for your own needs and rhythms. The process of setting boundaries often brings up fear. Fear of disappointing others, fear of conflict, fear of losing connections. These fears are completely natural, and understanding them is part of the journey. But consider this, when we set clear, compassionate boundaries, we actually create the conditions for more authentic relationships. We show up as our true selves rather than a depleted version trying to meet everyone's expectations. One of the most powerful aspects of boundary setting is that it requires us to get deeply honest with ourselves. What do we truly need? What serves our highest good? What depletes us? These questions invite us into a deeper relationship with ourselves, one where we learn to trust our own experience and honor our intuition. This brings us to an important distinction. Boundaries aren't about controlling others or demanding specific behaviors. They're about taking responsibility for our own experience and communicating clearly what we need to maintain our well-being. When we set boundaries from this place of self-awareness and self-respect, they become invitations for mutual understanding rather than sources of conflict. The transformation that comes from setting healthy boundaries often ripples out far beyond the specific situations in which we set them. As we practice honoring our own needs and limits, we develop a stronger sense of self-trust. We become more attuned to our internal signals and more confident in responding to them. This growing self-trust becomes a foundation for deeper personal growth and more authentic relationships. Think about where in your life you feel energized and clear, and where you feel drained or perhaps resentful. These feelings offer important clues about where you might need stronger or clearer boundaries. Remember, this isn't about judgment. It's about developing a more caring and respectful relationship with yourself. I want to emphasize that developing healthy boundaries is a practice. It's not a destination. It's completely normal for this to feel challenging at first, especially if you're not used to prioritizing your own needs. So start small, perhaps with one area of your life where you feel the need for clearer boundaries. Notice how it feels to listen to and honor your own needs in this area. The journey of setting boundaries is ultimately a journey of coming home to ourselves. When we listen deeply to our own needs and honor them through clear boundaries, we create the conditions for genuine transformation. We discover that self-respect isn't something we need to earn. It's something we cultivate through consistent, loving attention to our own experience. If you found value in this episode, please consider sharing it with a friend who might also find it interesting. Your support helps us continue to create this space for learning and growth. You can find out more about our studio and the podcast at chirising.studio.